Food goes missing. Hidden camera footage makes man sick. When he began to watch the tape, he was sure he'd catch his girlfriend in the act. There was nobody else in the apartment, so it had to be her playing a prank on him. Now he'd have enough evidence to confront her once and for all. He paused the video and stared at the dark figure in the kitchen, and suddenly the hair began to rise on the back of his neck. He moved closer until his eyes were almost touching the screen. There was someone there, all right, but it wasn't his girlfriend. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Actor Joe Cummings, a New York, Manhattan resident, had been living in his apartment for a couple of years, until one day, something made him want to get out of there as quickly as possible. For several days, he started realizing food was vanishing. At first, he didn't think much of it, but one day, after resupplying the pantry and fridge, he couldn't help but notice half of everything was gone. He knew he had to approach her. Cummings and his girlfriend were living together and had a stable relationship. They lived a young couple's life in the city where all dreams come true. That moment, they had it all. Until one day when he was sleeping and he couldn't help but hear the squealing of a door, thumps on the floor, and even what he thought was footsteps in the kitchen. Not only that, but he would awake to most of his food gone. He'd had enough. He approached his girlfriend and asked her if she was the one who was taking all the food. He went as far as regarding the matter as stealing, which didn't go very well in his favor. Would this be the end of their fairy tale relationship? Things between them started getting tense. She kept denying everything, so he had no other option than to catch her in the act. What he didn't know was that what he saw was a lot worse than what he was ever expecting. He knew he had to do something. He couldn't continue living like this. His girlfriend had denied taking the food at night. He was going crazy. Was he imagining all of this? Could the house be haunted? He thought it might be an animal who kept getting in. But then Cummings remembered he would always close all the doors and windows before going to bed. It had to be something that was already inside the house. Knowing that this might end his loving relationship with his girlfriend, he needed to find answers. Cummings finally decided to put a camera up at an angle where the kitchen and part of the living space were entirely clear. Of course, he chose not to tell anyone, not even his girlfriend. He was sure that it was her munching away on snacks in the middle of the night, but what he couldn't fathom was why she would do such a thing. Cummings wasn't ready for the truth. He was ready to find out the truth and set everything up. He even went as far as purchasing night vision for his camera so he could get all the juicy details of his girlfriend's midnight secret. At first, you can see how Cummings leaves his kitchen, and the kitchen is left completely alone, until a couple hours later when his own home becomes his worst nightmare. A woman comes down from what looks like an upper-level storage unit in the kitchen. He knew it, he thought. His girlfriend had been stealing the food all along. Why hadn't she told him and kept it a secret? Was this some kind of joke? He had to keep watching to reveal the truth, but what he saw next shook him to the core. The woman crawls out onto a nearby table. She then proceeds to steady herself as she takes a booth and places it at the right level so she can leap down. It didn't look like it was her first time doing that. She knew exactly where to put herself. The woman then turned towards the camera, and at this point, Cummings knew this woman was not who he thought it was. Cummings' scalp prickled and his breath stalled. His heart thudded louder and louder at the realization that this woman was a complete stranger. He still couldn't take his eyes off the video and continued to watch the mysterious intruder. The stranger continued to roam around the kitchen, at first looking in the refrigerator and drinking straight out of a carton of juice. Then she urinates in the kitchen and continues her search for food in the pantry. Cummings' stomach knotted. Who was this woman? Now he knew why his food kept disappearing. He was unintentionally sharing it with a woman who'd been hiding out in his apartment. She even dared to sit down and get comfortable on the couch while she snacked on something from his pantry. But then something startled her. The floorboards creaked as Cummings made his way to the kitchen for a glass of water. The strange woman dashed and found a hiding spot, coming out later when she knew the coast was clear. She continued to drink and snack on whatever she can, and then swiftly retreats to her hiding spot. The camera continues to record, and we can see Cummings the next morning getting ready to go out for a run. He opens the fridge and drinks from the carton of milk, much like the intruder did a few hours ago. He still had no idea someone else was with him. He watched the tape until the end and couldn't believe what he'd found. His hunch was correct. It just wasn't his girlfriend, the one who was stealing his food. So I kept on finding food missing in my apartment that I knew I wasn't eating. I confronted my girlfriend who lives with me about it, and she claimed she wasn't eating it, Cummings says in a YouTube video. Cummings immediately called the police. After watching the video, a ball of terror formed in his stomach and chills chased up his spine. He had to get out of there as soon as possible. He was completely terrified. Gasping, he ran out the door and immediately called the police. The next thing they tell him rattles him even more. The woman was arrested and later discovered to have been there for over 2 weeks. I have no idea how she got in there. The only way in is through the window at the top floor and there's a fire escape, wrote Cummings on YouTube. The police think she was probably coming in to rob me when I was gone and decided to stay in the crawl space. Supposedly, this isn't the first time the cops had come across something like this. His pulse ramped up as he was told she'd been there for over 2 weeks, making the experience so much more disturbing. He published the video, and it immediately went viral. Some are skeptical about it, but since the others have thoroughly investigated every corner of their house, would they be able to sleep at night knowing their privacy had been invaded? Please share this with your friends and family.